place et j'ai l'honneur de vous souhaiter la bienvenue pour un événement dans un clubhouse de golf qui peut-être illustre l'agilité et la remise en question que le monde fou dans lequel on vit aujourd'hui. Merci d'avoir eu l'idée. C'est un dialogue, pas un dialogue de sourds, c'est un dialogue. Et le dialogue, c'est pour se donner une chance de s'entendre, il faut s'écouter. C'est la place des femmes dans la société, dans le business, dans les affaires, au gouvernement, dans la politique. Vous êtes en majorité dans le pays aujourd'hui, vous savez ça, 51%. Et dans beaucoup de structures, vous êtes en minorité. Merci d'avoir planté cette graine-là. Je crois que c'est un enjeu extrêmement pertinent pour notre île en cette période extrêmement challenging.
We're sitting in our houses, panicking and wondering how we're going to survive the crisis, far from our families, and on a personal level, family level, business level, and country level. And we were, trying to engage people and create a forum for discussion. And then l'idée a fait son petit bout de chemin. And then one day we were talking to Leka and we said, why don't we do it ourselves? Why don't we create the forum ourselves? And we create this dialogue where, as my chairman said, it's a conversation that we are having on important topics of national interest, and there are lots of them, all the more so today in a post-pandemic world. And we don't have to agree on everything, and we can very much agree to disagree as long as we are bringing our voice and moving forward. And I thought about you, and because I know MCB has taken some very formal commitment voluntarily, and I would like you to talk about, this problematic of women being stuck in the middle, and how do they go on top, and how do we create a pool of women, potential women leaders for the future.
So at the MCB level, I must say that 2 years back, and I'll talk a bit more about MCB's experience because that's probably where we get our inspiration from in terms of what we set out to do. I mean, when we look at our gender distribution across the whole organization, we can say, fine, we are 50-50. In fact, out of 3,000 staff, we've actually got 1,500 more or less men and 1,500 women. But it's when you dig further down that you see, in fact, there's a big issue about gender equity. We ask ourselves the question, why is it, like Jyoti said, at some level we are just stuck, and there was another McKinsey report as well, which said the broken rung, which is, if you look at the ladder that people climb, it's the first ladder is broken, so women don't get the chance to move up. I know there's been some discussion even at the board level saying, you can't put targets because that's, you're not recruiting the best, and you're not recruiting the people that needs to be there because of their talent. We would have to have 40% of our middle to senior management as women. Some commitments in terms of what we have the intention to do in terms of our target to achieve 40% by 2026. So we've been trying to look at all the obstacles and all the challenges we've got, and why is it that there's a broken rung to the career ladder.
Jean-Pierre has the challenge of talking about the unconscious gender bias that Alan just touched on, why there is so low parity at industry, senior management level.
The only fact that we talk about gender balance is a great thing. And the more we talk about it, I think the more we're going to progress. And it's true that it's very difficult. In fact, even, first of all, I think we need to take cognizance of the fact that having more women in companies and at political level or at administrative level is a good thing. So for so long as we, first of all, recognize that, and this based on facts. I mean, you mentioned McKinsey, but there's been actually quite a few studies from different bodies that make that statement very strongly. I mean, personally, I believe that our group, but our private sector and our nation would be much better if we had more women at the top, at the leadership level. It's a big challenge for us. Once we've recognized that is how do we go about it? I mean, what do we do to change things? That's not easy because the first thing, but sorry for mentioning Ciel, but I've got this practical experience, but similarly to MCB, we did set clear targets and then we wanted to fulfill them. The more you have diversity in the decision-making process, which is at leadership level, but also at board level, the better it is. And of course, I mean, having more women is better because you have more diversity and you don't end up making a collegial decision from one perspective and making, potentially the wrong one. There is a clear unconscious bias which is there. And I think the first fact that we take cognizance of that is already a big step. The level of business managers, we have a study right now going on with support of AFD, l'Agence Française de Développement, and where we're looking at the return of women to employment and what is done in terms of leadership training, so that we can on peut faire un état des lieux de la situation. Je crois que beaucoup d'entreprises, many companies actually are doing that right now. It's not only a quantitative analysis, but it's a qualitative analysis. And at the same time, see how we can do some training so that we raise that awareness. For so long we speak the same language, I think there's a lot of progress we can make.
So Aruna is chairing the National Committee on Corporate Governance, which is a very important role at a national level and trying to bring changes. One of the arguments worldwide, not just in Mauritius, is do we go for voluntary targets or do we go for the legal route? And I know in Mauritius we have legalized now that at least one director should be women, at least one director of a public company. There is a major risk that this becomes a symbol and a token, so we'll tick the box and put one woman, and there is not, it will not drive change. So we would like to hear from you, Aruna, how far you think whether we should go the voluntary route, which has been happening in many countries very successfully, or we should go the legal route to force companies to adopt a tougher route in terms of getting gender balance in boards.
We've heard today about the problem of having a pool of aspiring women directors, the problem about researching talent. And I really wanted today to pass on a message of how 3 little practical approaches of how we could perhaps compensate that, and perhaps you could achieve your 2026 target quicker and make that pool of aspiring women directors grow bigger. My first proposal would be that all companies, and especially large conglomerates, that they look at appointing a gender champion. Obviously, not all companies are the same. The businesses are different, and there are different complexities around the businesses. Each company has got its own reality, and each group has got its own as well. So by having conglomerates and companies appointing a gender champion, that person could look into the realities of that conglomerate or company, and then decide together in discussion with management and the board, what the priorities in order to attain gender parity could be, and then develop that roadmap. The second then would be, wouldn't it be nice to have chairs of large conglomerates, boards, and risk and audit committees to act as mentor of a female talent within the organization? So if large conglomerates, chairs of large conglomerate, and chairs of risk and audit committee could actually think about identifying a female talent in the organization and mentoring that person, that would be a win-win situation for both parties. For people who are already on large conglomerates, you know the size of board packs when they reach you, and you've got 1 week to read them. So that female talent would actually digest that board pack, brainstorm with the chair, and prepare the chair for the board or for the board subcommittee, and in the process, learn about how a board functions, what are the themes, the dynamics which are brought onto the board, and it would be a first-class training. It would be even better if the chair were able to allow that female talent to assist the board purely in an observatory capacity, because there's nothing best than on-the-job training. So that's my second proposal. And the last one, which is easy for companies to adopt, would be, again, for large companies and large conglomerates. Often the way that it's structured is you have a holding company and you would have subsidiary boards. And for subsidiary boards, how about considering women who are in executive positions, in senior management position, who could join those boards, okay? There would be no need to pay directors' fees because they would be already employed by the group, right? So these ladies would enter those subsidiary boards and learn how a board operates, the board dynamics, how a dividend is declared. And in some subsidiary companies which are regulated by, say, the Bank of Mauritius, FSC, and so on, understand those heavy regulatory compliance matters, and they would acquire first-hand experience.
When you say European example, I don't like the word example. I think we are European experience, let's put it that way, what we have done, what we have achieved, what is missing, what is still to be done. This is what I would like maybe to share with you rapidly this morning. The picture of where we are in the European Union today. One of the issues I would like maybe to present to you, and then to look at what are the tools, what are the solutions at reach in our hands that we can use to actually make progress and get the movement into this. How to break the glass ceiling that we all know about. The first point maybe to start with is the cultural element. I think it's clear we're all living in different societies, and societies have their own rhythm of changing and having this evolution. And certainly the way the perceptions are about the role of the family, the role of the women in the family and so on, will have an influence on this process of moving more or less fast into this process. Today, I think we still have 44% of Europeans that think that the most important place for the woman is to be in her home and taking care of her family, 44%. So how did we get there, and what are the tools in our hands to actually make these changes, and how to use these various tools? I think there are three three types of tools that we have: the legislation, as mentioned before, and how to imply the legislation. We'll see there are differences whether it's obligatory or not obligatory. It makes a big difference. Gender mainstreaming, so having policies in all of the, is it in transport, when you are thinking about how to build a road, when you're thinking about how to run your company, when you are thinking about agriculture, the place of women in agriculture, these kind of things, you have really to frame it completely from the start. And then there are some additional specific measures. I will come to that. So break the glass ceiling. What do we need to do? We need to close the gender gap. We need to have more improvements in the work-life balance between people, and we need also to have this gender balance achieved. What are the other tools that we have been having and using in that context? There are 3 or 4 other tools that we have been using apart from the legislation in that context, and which have been available to our member states in this context. First, we have a gender equality strategy. Every 5 years, we are designing the gender equality strategy, where we are, where we want to go, what are the targets, what are the problems that we are encountering, how to resolve these problems. So, second element, which is quite interesting, it's what we call diversity charters. So this is a voluntary process, so we invite all organizations, NGOs, companies, other partners to voluntarily adhere to this charter, which promotes diversity and equal opportunities at the workplace. Third element, index, measuring, knowing what are the figures, exact, precise figures of that situation. Where do we stand in this respect? Here we have 600 companies who have been willing to share their information, and we have then seen what is the evolution for these companies in that respect. So to reach this goal of 40%.
I would also like you to tell us briefly, one of the things that is coming very often is many women are now going for a career change because it's just impossible to juggle house responsibilities, working and looking after children who are stuck at home because of the pandemic. And many businesses have started losing women at the senior level, at all levels actually. And what is your experience and your take on that?
Sur Maurice, pendant la pandémie, bon, c'est arrivé comme ça, un peu comme un choc. On avait mis du temps à se préparer et on s'est retrouvés presque du jour au lendemain, service essentiel, 24 sur 24. Et en fait, en gros, demain, l'hôpital doit ouvrir et on est en lockdown. Ça a été une période assez difficile, les 3 premières semaines. Ne sachant pas où on allait, on s'est dit il faut qu'on crée un Covid ward. Il fallait créer un ICU, donc on travaillait jusqu'à minuit tous les soirs, on re-enfilait le lendemain à 7h du matin. Et effectivement, il y a une famille à gérer sans personnel de maison, puisque aussi ils sont en lockdown, et donc comment on manage ça? Le challenge dans la santé, c'est qu'en fait, à la différence du secteur bancaire, il y a beaucoup de femmes. Et là, ça a été difficile aussi, comment nous, maintenant, on accompagne nos femmes, nos mamans, parce que en fait, vous voyez bien, souvent les infirmières sont quand même des femmes, et comment on les accompagne? Donc il y a des foyers où l'homme est plus là, plus réceptif à aider. Bon, c'est mon cas, c'est ma chance, je l'ai choisi, by the way. Mais il y a d'autres foyers où c'est plus compliqué. Donc là, comment moi, en tant que leader, j'essaye d'accompagner les femmes à différents niveaux de l'échelle, en fait, parce que je crois qu'il y a aussi une question quand même de moyens. Moi, je dis souvent, pour que les femmes puissent progresser, il faut que la logistique à la maison suive. Et pour que la logistique suive, ça coûte de l'argent. C'est-à-dire qu'il faut du service, il faut des bonnes, il faut avoir des chauffeurs. Et donc, il y a une injustice. Et ce que je dis aussi à mes collègues, c'est ne faites pas des petits investissements. À 30 ans, même si au pourcentage de vos salaires, d'avoir 2 personnes à la maison pour s'occuper de vos enfants, ça vous paraît inaccessible, parce que ça prend 25% de votre budget, c'est un investissement, c'est pas une dépense. C'est un investissement pour plus tard. Parce que si tu fais pas ça, là, ça sera très très difficile après d'être relax, d'être disponible dans ta tête et de te dire, en fait, mon téléphone va pas sonner toutes les 10 minutes. Donc moi, c'est ce que souvent quand je partage aux collègues, hommes et femmes, c'est de dire, en fait, s'aider à la maison, c'est un investissement pour le futur. Si l'ambition, c'est de grandir, hein. Enfin, on peut être très heureux, by the way, avec des fonctions stables. Et je dirais à différents niveaux de la hiérarchie.
Thank you again for this very valuable contribution. I think there's a lot to take from what we have spoken today, and we'll try to find ways of making it matter and putting it on top of the agenda, and how we can implement and bring changes going forward.